the showstopper, the headliner, the main event, the icon, the Heartbreak Kid himself, Shawn Michaels, one of the greatest in-ring performers in WWE, bar none. I'm John Recton with my review, Biography, WWE Legends on Shawn Michaels. I have made my opinions on Shawn Michaels well known. I appreciate him as a performer, truly one of the best. He could do many great goddamn things even when he was pilled up out of his goddamn mind or injured to the point where nobody really should be able to walk. But my fucking goodness, Shawn Michaels definitely create a lot of iconic moments, matches, and stuff that will continue to live on even long after I'm gone. Long after many of us are gone. People from the future, spacemen from the future, will come down, they will find video files or whatever, and they will see, my goodness, Shawn Michaels was really goddamn good. Let's see more of him, because Shawn Michaels was just that special. He truly was. So I do stand by everything I said about Shawn Michaels. I will not apologize for any of that shit. I will say, in my opinion, Bret Hart was better. But I will lay out during this particular review as to why Shawn Michaels being very contrite and being open about all the stuff that he went through, the stuff that he did as far as drugs, his backstage, behavior, how he, found religion and decided to basically be open and honest about that stuff. So, a lot of this was him helping NXT talent, like they sprinkled clips in there. And then we got to find out something about, his early days. And this stuff had been covered in other documentaries. And I am going to basically skip over a lot of the coverage of Montreal, the Montreal Screwjob, because that's been covered to death. I've done videos on it. I stand by who I stand by. And that he was too small to succeed. It was cool to see a little bit of footage from 1995 about how, damn it, he's going to succeed. There are two lives of Shawn Michaels. Triple H said, who he was before, who he is now. Ric Flair talked about how he is a prick, but great in the ring. Triple H, Flair, Shawn's wife, Vince chime in, various others chime in. They got some good talking heads. They also got Peter Rosenberg. I can't fucking stand that guy, but they got other people in there too. They also got Bruce Pritchard. Fuck Bruce Pritchard. More footage of him helping the talents in NXT. Terry Taylor talks about how he's turned his life around. Terry Taylor's another guy that, found religion. I know it seems like I'm dumping on people that found religion. Look, you do whatever the hell you want. If it suits you, it suits you. As long as you don't twist the words of a storybook to fit hateful mindsets, that's fine. You use teachings to help people out and be a better person, that's fine. It's just not for me. And I've had many, many, many bad experiences with people that are religious, so it's always a sticking point with me. And growing up, in a military family, his real life, name is Michael Hickenbottom, Shawn Michael Hickenbottom, and, everybody laughed at the name. I would never laugh at a name like Hickenbottom. I'm a mature individual. If you believe that, you have not paid attention to any videos that I've done. The 2002 footage from his parents. I don't know if his parents are still alive, but they just couldn't get them for this particular thing, or if his parents passed away. If they passed away, I feel bad. So, Southwest Championship Wrestling, run by Joe Blanchard in San Antonio. Shawn talks about falling in love with it. His parents felt that he would grow out of wanting to be a wrestler, but he didn't. Dad said that basically, because he was an amateur wrestler, he says basically an athletic male soap opera. He's not wrong. It's not that it doesn't take talent, but he's not wrong. That's kind of the bare bones about it. And then Kenny Kent, very generic name. Shawn's friend, they wrestled at a talent show. Shawn accidentally got busted open. They came in second place behind cheerleaders. And Jose Lothario trained him. It was $3,000. The dad even said, Shawn's dad even said, I didn't want him to be 35 or 40 and have him say, Dad, just what could have been. He couldn't live with that, so he's like, what could it hurt? His entire body, but nevertheless. Then we cut back to current day Shawn Michaels with him him doing training, getting in good shape, working on his back, and just staying as nimble as he can. How he's going to have knee replacements. Can't imagine why with all the shit he did. Bruce Pritchard, again, fuck Bruce Pritchard, goddamn puppet. Terry Taylor talks about, Shawn working in Mid-South. Jose Lothario got him booked. He was booked on some shows in Houston for Paul Bosch when Paul Bosch and Bill Watts were working together. And, Shawn was basically treated like a jobber because he'd just gotten in. He was beaten, traveling up and down the road Mid-South. All those territories, or all those states, rather, in that territory, Arkansas, Arkansas, as some people called it, and you're wrong. Mississippi. I mean, you go to friggin' Houston. I think they even did other stuff in Texas, but Houston was like the main crown jewel town that they would have there. And Oklahoma, Tulsa and Oklahoma City were big goddamn deals, but they would be all over the goddamn place in that certain Mid-South area. And they did kind of blend together the world-class footage and the Mid-South footage. They didn't really identify that stuff, but not shocking, because I bet a lot of people at the A&E, on the A&E production staff probably didn't know shit about wrestling. The ones that didn't want to raise their hands and say, we need to label this stuff, but whatever. Vince probably would have slapped him with an NDA, like he's done with so many. So, Shawn went to the Kansas City territory, Central States, which was not doing well by 1985. Read up on it. It was not doing well at all. When Stan Muchnick retired, St. Louis wrestling fell into a goddamn hole. And Central States territory was never necessarily a big money-making territory, but St. Louis was. Nevertheless, teams up with Mari Jannetty, or he meets Mari Jannetty. They team up a little bit there, but they really get their big break as far as a team in the AWA, 1986. They even win the tag titles, I believe, from Buddy Rose and Doug Summers in, I think it was a Brawl in St. Paul in December 1986. And then of course, there's a talk about, the Midnight Rockers, Judas Priest, Living After Midnight, or whatever the name of that song is. My knowledge of Judas Priest songs is not really all that great. 1987 trip to go to WWF, WWE now. Buffalo, New York, they had to co-mingle with guys. I think it was Jimmy Jack Funk did something where he broke a bottle, or, like he was chewing on his bottle and everything. Obviously, it was sugar glass, or Jimmy Jack Funk was just nuts. Probably was with a name like that. Shawn broke a bottle over his own head. Well, stories got around everything to where it was like, oh, it was this. They tore at the bar, and then Vince fired them. So they were working in Continental Wrestling in Birmingham. And Shawn was open about his drugs, doing cocaine for the first time when they were at casinos working, for the AWA. And then cash, you get, some in cash and you get the rest in blow, and you can just do this. And wouldn't you think it would have been easier to pay talents than it was to, pay them in cocaine? Nevertheless, apparently Continental Championship Wrestling just wasn't very, Kirk, I think it was Continental Wrestling Association, actually. But nevertheless, they were not exactly smart businessmen. I think they were out by 1989, and they weren't drawing people at all in 87. But, he talks about how the drug issues just continue to take hold. His parents were worried about him. Pat Patterson went to bat for two young talents that he could possibly abuse. Allegedly, no, Pat Patterson was just as guilty in that Ring Boy scandal as anyone else. He convinced Vince to let him back in, so he did. And Taker talks to me and Shawn and Marty in 1990 when Taker got there, and that they weren't necessarily the most likable guys. There was a tag team championship match just a little bit earlier before Taker made his official debut, Saturday Night's Main Event in October, where it's a taped show. The rope broke in a 2 out of 3 falls match, and instead of stopping it or having a hold and just fixing the ropes, and then you can just cobble that footage together and only the live crowd would know, they didn't do that. The referee froze, everybody froze, and even though Shawn and Marty won the tag titles, it was a shit match, and they decided not to recognize the tag title turn, or the change rather. Piper then on commentary was saying, oh, well, these two aren't going to launch. Shawn could be a breakout star and everything. And then Shawn and Marty got in an altercation because Piper just kept antagonizing them because Piper was known for doing that, at least according to their story. Barbershop incident. Jannetty tried to dive through the window to escape. Did you see that? What an act of cowardice. Fucking hell, Bobby Heenan. God, I miss Bobby Heenan so much. Such a beacon of just tremendous entertainment on commentary, while also being a full-on dick. But he made the show better, unlike some heel commentators now. And then the Heartbreak Kid was born with Sherry. Sweet Christ, I would have loved to have been paired with Sherry. Moving on from that. Slow start. He did have the match with Tito Santana. Had other matches on European tours. Match with Rick Martel, SummerSlam 92. Intercontinental Championship win against the Bulldog in the last Saturday Night's Main Event for nearly 14 years, about 13 and a half years. November 14, 1992. I think it was taped a little bit before, but that was due to the fact that Bulldog and Warrior had been getting steroids or human growth hormones, or it was something, from a guy during the time where the steroid trials were going to be starting soon because the feds were investigating because of Dr. Zahorian. And so Bulldog was cut. He was brought back about a year and a half, 2 years later. Warrior was brought back about 3.5 years later. By the way, fuck the Ultimate Warrior. I'm glad he's dead. He held the title until May 93. Lost it to Marty. This stuff wasn't necessarily covered, but I remember it. Lost it to Marty on the same Raw where 1-2-3 Kid shockingly beat Razor Ramon. That's when Raw was only an hour and filled with more excitement than it is now. Won it back 27 days later or something like that. Feud with Mr. Perfect. Got a drug suspension for steroids or something. Because pills are being passed around like crazy, even though, again, there was like the stringent drug testing policy. They were still passing that shit around. And Razor Ramon, a.k.a. Scott Hall, the late great Scott Hall, got told the story about, oh, you just take this and you'll feel better and everything. Well, then Shawn got popped. Didn't give the title back. They had the ladder match at Mania 10, which went on way too long, and the 10-man tag had to be cut. That 10-man tag, I believe, is on the following Raw, but they missed out on the Mania payday. Ladder match, look, it still holds up. It still does, and it wasn't just a complete car crash. There was some psychology to it. And Razor was there for everything. Shawn obviously stood out. Gargano talks about the evolution of ladder matches, aka the car crash mentality. Shawn talks about how he was selfish, had an ego, and such, and his saving grace was in ring work. Well, other people mentioned that, but Shawn even mentioned that. Bruce, Flair, others mentioned that. And then the Clique was born. Shawn, Nash, Hall, 1-2-3 Kid, Triple H. Shawn had some great ideas when he was sober, according to Vince. And he got into a fight, and a bunch of Marines beat him up. I believe it was only one. One or two. I think it was just one. One because Shawn was being a prick to his girlfriend. The guy's girlfriend. Not his own girlfriend, with the Marine beating him up. That would have been weird. So, he had to give up the IC title at the October 95 In Your House, wearing that jacket. Sweet fucking Christ. I know that Dean Douglas was there, dressed like a goddamn graduation stripper, but what the fuck? Triple H basically kept Shawn level. He would have to guide him to the hotel, undress, shower him, and make sure that he had everything out of his mouth and that he had a pillow under and he was tipped over or tipped on his side so he wouldn't throw up. I give Triple H a lot of shit, rightfully so, for stuff in his career, the 2003 incident with Booker T that I didn't cover on the Booker T documentary, but yeah, and a bunch of other stuff. But you know what? You can tell Triple H cared about Shawn. Shawn cared about Triple H. It was just down to the fact that Shawn couldn't get out of his own way because he was pilled up, coked up, whatever. And that he won the championship from Bret at Mania 12 in the Iron Man match. A match that still holds up, but I fully recognize it is difficult to watch because it's an hour long. There are some rest holds, and look, in all honesty, was it the best WrestleMania main event? Probably not. But was it really good? Did it show the hard work of these two? Absolutely. It was fucking exhausting. No wonder Bret had to take time off, which he was going to anyway. To film Lonesome Dove, I remember actually going out of my way to watch Lonesome Dove and just being upset that Bret wasn't in nearly as much. I thought that they were going to get Bret a starring role. I mean, I wasn't fully aware of how the inner workings. I'm still not aware of the full inner workings of Hollywood. But I'm like, oh, Bret Hart, big wrestling superstar, big wrestling, my favorite wrestler. I mean, he was my favorite wrestler at that point, still is. Oh, he's going to go and he's going to kill it in Hollywood. And I don't remember too much about the Lonesome Dove episode, but I don't remember him being featured that much. And the show didn't last long. Weird time for TV. They were trying everything to get Walker Texas Ranger clones, even though that was a little more grounded. And then WCW comes along. I mean, well, they're rising up. I mean, they've been coming along for a while, but at this point, they'd signed a whole bunch of ex-WWF guys. Then they signed Nash and Hall. Hall and Nash, actually, as far as, correct lineage. Hall debuted a couple weeks before Nash. And, the curtain call happened just before that. It was Madison Square Garden, a house show, non-televised event, for those who don't know. The day before Hall made his debut, I believe. I think he made it on the 20th of 96. It was the 20th or 27th. Dates are a little bit funny to me. But, they broke kayfabe. There was a guy that Manny, that snuck a camera in along with his friend there. Oh my God. And it did break kayfabe. Even though it's funny that Vince did this thing where it's like, oh, we're not a real sport. We're entertainment to get around the taxes and all that stuff. That was back in 88, 89, something like that. And Jim Herd came out, oh, we're flipping the scripts because Jim Herd was a goddamn idiot. But the whole point is Vince had done that, and it made it so cartoonish and so entertaining. You would have thought that, yeah, okay, in the hallowed halls of Madison Square Garden, maybe he wouldn't have, cared. No, he fucking cared. Triple H got punished. Flair called it an insult. If that happened in the 70s or even early 80s, they would have had the shit beat out of him. Shawn felt that he was doing great in the ring, but wasn't drawing well as champion. He was feeling the pressure. Triple H helped him a lot. Brett felt that Shawn's drug problems got even worse when he was champion, but they really rose up as far as that. He lost his smile after suffering a knee injury at the 97 Rumble when he won the title back against Sid after he refused to drop it to Vader at SummerSlam 96. Move, you fat fuck. Yeah, well, here's the thing, Shawn. Vader was better than you. Maybe not at that point because they rushed him back way too soon, but Vader, I'll take Vader's matches in, in some instances, his title matches over some of the stuff Shawn did. Even though Shawn was really good. I'm talking in the 90s. Shawn was tremendous in the ring. Shawn could do some incredible stuff. Shawn was also a fucking asshole. And no, he can still go fuck himself as far as that. And the feud with Bret, the Sunny Days promos, and then getting his hair pulled out. It looked like a fully grown rat. Survivor Series 97, Taker, everybody weighs in. So I was going to skip over Montreal. I don't blame Bret for feeling the way he did. Sure, should have found a way to get the title off of Bret before that, but Vince felt he could have that workout. But Bret goes to WCW, Shawn stays there. His drug problems took hold more. He admired the fact that his friend Kenny had a family and a wife. And he's like, I can't have both, though, because he's got his career and he's got that. Then the 98 Rumble casket match where he apparently herniated a disc really bad. I'm not saying that Shawn didn't suffer a back injury. I'm just saying with all the shit he did and all the pills he did, his body eventually is going to say, fuck it, we are done. And his body did say we were done. He did as much rehab as he could, shiatsu massage or whatever it was, and cortisone shot and a lot of pills, and he got through the whole thing with Austin. Of course, Triple H even said that Shawn said that he should have pilled up and died after Mania 10 because then he would have been like Elvis. Well, Shawn was bitter about losing to Austin. Not that he had a problem putting over Austin. His back was hurt. Now, he did suffer that pretty bad bump there where he tried to do the tumble over and he just, boom, he just hit. It was like a car hitting a concrete wall. He walked out of the press conference. Well, he stormed into the press conference and then got walked out of the press conference, the post-Mania 14 press conference. And he did his rehab, aka his physical therapy. I always think that Shawn probably would have needed to end up doing that he probably was, even though his back injury was bad, that he probably was sent away by Vince to maybe get clean. Because they really didn't need Shawn at this point, especially Shawn in that condition. And I always say that they should have kept Bret, but at that time, I can see why they didn't keep Bret. Vince saw Bret as 40. They've done everything with him. And Shawn was a number of years younger. I think he was 33, 34 at the time. And I don't blame Vince for wanting to keep Shawn over Bret as far as years that Shawn could have had, back in wrestling. And actually, I might even be kind of wrong about that because I know he retired at 44, I believe. Nevertheless, let's just go with the fact that he kept Shawn, and it kind of bit him in the ass because Shawn had a Shawn Michaels Wrestling Academy, and he trained Brian Danielson. Sure he did. Regal actually helped train him more. And a few others. And that he had such a whirlwind romance with Rebecca, a.k.a. Whisper, the Nitro Girls. They were married within weeks. Look, if they're happy, that's fine, but whatever. You shouldn't get married after just a number of weeks. That's my opinion. I speak as somebody who's been single for 11 years and counting, and always will be, because fuck it. So the drug issues kept going. WCW went out of business. He was there, but he was belligerent, drooling all over himself. He was just not in a good place, and Vince said, go home. he went off on Triple H. Shawn did, and they didn't talk for a while. Shawn, his wife, even though pregnant, was taking care of him, but then his kid had been born. His kid was like, okay, daddy's sleeping. I think he's got 2 or 3 kids. I don't really care. I wish the kid's nothing but the best, but daddy's sleeping. Then he finally decided to find religion. Then he had a career resurgence. He made peace with Triple H. SummerSlam 2002 match, which still is fucking emotional as hell. My opinion, best SummerSlam of all time, or at least up there with the best SummerSlams of all time, because from top to bottom, that was really fucking good. And second run, brief world title run, still top tier performer, feuds with Cena, feuds with Orton, reuniting with as DX with Triple H, and then Flair's last match at Mania 24, matches with Taker at Mania 25. 26, going to drive my kids nuts in 3 weeks. And then he's training new people and everything. And Cole and Gargano talk about how humble he is and everything. And sure, he's humble now. Look, people can change. I'm just saying, just for all the stuff you hear about that, and the fact that Shawn wasn't necessarily the best person to deal with backstage. I'm still 50-50 on Shawn, but there's no denying his in-ring talent. So there you go. I'm going to review the rest of the Season 1 biographies as they pop up on A&E, and I record them, and I'm able to review them. So, look for more reviews. Look for reviews of the rest of Season 2. Boy, that one on Goldberg is going to be interesting. Can't imagine who I'm going to side with there. And also the one on the Bella Twins. Whoo! Anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.